It is a beautiful, beautiful day, my friends. Mostly because I'm finally hiding one of the most shameful, disgusting, garbage, trash, atrocious spots of my garden by planting out a field of corn. And I'm doing it in a fresh new fit. I've got a little striped shirt, USA made. I've got some Blundstones on. Copied that from Jacques. Shh. Don't go over to his channel and tell him that there's a new Blundstone daddy in town. But before we get into the corn, I want to show you the test garden because there's a few experiments that are almost wrapped up. First off, take a look at this tomato. You would never guess the variety. It's called an early girl, which is a really popular variety. I've never seen one grow in this freakish, bushy fashion and set, frankly, almost no fruit and a ton of leaves. It's breaking my little stake there. But then we've got the onion experiment. Remember this? We did this maybe 3-4 months ago. I'm starting to see some necks break on the onions. This, of course, is the time where it is ready to go, ready to harvest. Not all of them have. The ones over here that are a little bit more crowded are still developing. So I'm gonna let those ones go. But this is the section that I need to turn into a corn paradise. Why? Because aside from these sunflowers, which self-sowed, and frankly, I think I've created some hybrids here because look at this big head and then look at all these small branches. And yes, this is coming from one stem. So it's not like there's two growing right next to each other. Very bizarre. But besides those two sunflowers, come on, the rest of this just does not look that well. We've got weeds all over the place over here, got some extra trellises, some slate. So I need to cover this up. I haven't shown you the seed cabinet in a while, but you can tell I love corn because I have an entire catalog cabinet dedicated to it. So the question is, what am I going to grow? So let's pull them all out and talk some corn. These days in the evenings, Chetty is always accompanying me out in the garden. Okay, the thing to know about corn is you really can't plant multiple varieties right next to each other for a reason that makes sense if you think about the part of corn that you're eating. What are you eating on corn? You are eating the kernels. What are the kernels? The kernels are the seeds. So in most scenarios, when you're growing a plant, like say a pepper or a tomato, you could plant them all right next to one another. Chetty, do you have something to say? Do you have a preference? She's so loud sometimes. So when you're planting a pepper tomato, it doesn't really matter if they cross-pollinate in the season that you're eating the fruit, the tomato or the pepper, because it's really the seeds that have now become hybrids. In the case of corn, because you are eating and harvesting the cob with the seeds, and the seeds are actually what you're eating, you really need to keep them separate. Otherwise, they will cross-pollinate and you'll get very weird varieties. So I need to pick one variety of corn right now, which is like my nemesis. I can't imagine only growing one in that spot. So here's what I've got. I've got honey and cream. This is a sweet corn, and I want to grow a sweet corn because if I'm growing one, I want to grow it to eat it. So there's honey and cream. This is a fun one, but I'm not going to grow it. This is called Robust Pop. This is one of the few commercially viable popping corns that you can get. It's like sort of like a market standard. Then I've got Butter Gold. This is another sweet corn. True Gold, which is another sweet corn. And I think, no, I got another one. Sugar Baby. We've got a lot of sweet corn, but here's the question, which one am I going to grow? Well, this is how I'm going to decide. First of all, I'm gonna look at the days to maturity. So in this particular case with True Gold, it looks like I've got 70 to 80 days. Sugar Baby, 65, that's kind of quick. Butter Gold, 63. Honey and Cream, 84. Then I'm gonna look at how many I have. So I kind of need a lot of this stuff. So I got 2 packs of True Gold. I got 3-ish packs of Honey and Cream. These are my 2 selections now. Now it's really just which one to choose. They both germinate in roughly the same amount of time, 84 days on Honey and Cream and 70 to 80 on True Gold. But let's read the back of the packet. Sometimes I get persuaded by the sales copy of my own seed packets. So let's see what we got. This one, perfect blend of luscious white and yellow kernels bursting with flavor, honey and cream, a traditional sugary corn. Each 7-inch bicolor ear has 12 rows of sweet, creamy kernels, cans and freezes well, and resistant to blight. I don't really deal with that. Okay, so that's pretty nice, but what do I have here? 9-inch ears, very sweet and tender, and they are less likely to bend and kink in windy areas. So now I'm at a bit of a dilemma because if I grow as much as I'm about to plant, I definitely will want to save some. This seems to be better for saving, but this one seems to just be your classic sweet corn, and frankly, that butter on the top is hitting me in a place that I can't share right now on video. Otherwise this might get demonetized. So I think I'm gonna go with True Gold. So let's take it on over to the plot. So this is where the corn is going in. The only things I really need to get this going, the trusty kneeler because of my old ashy knees, and this new weird thing. You don't have to have something like this. You could literally just use your finger. But if you guys remember our Epic 6 cells, they kind of look like this, don't they? So we're working on this little prototype. I think it's kind of cool. It's like a little plunger so that when you take a transplant out of the 6 cells, it'll slot perfectly into the soil and then you can just transplant easily. I'm just gonna try it out because I think it looks cool. It's like a little puncher. So let's go ahead and get some of these in. Like, tell me that is not very satisfying. Come on. That is so satisfying. I am actually going to loosen this up just a touch. We've already amended this a few times. If you remember a couple years ago when we did the corn maze, we did a big amending round. And we've done the same thing with the dahlia patch last year and the cover crop patch. So this is a 4x4 square foot area and I'm gonna plant the corn. It's supposed to be about 12 inches or so. I'm gonna tighten it up just a touch. But usually when you're planting out corn, you're going to plant 2 per hole. So you get 1 germinated and then you come thin it out. I don't know if I have enough of True Gold seed in these 2 packets to do these 3 squares with 2 seeds per hole. So I'm gonna stick to 1 seed per hole and then just re-sow if I don't have germination. So let's put this bad boy to the test. I mean, that is just the way that I like to live right there. This is my new lifestyle. The other thing you can do if you wanted to grow different varieties in this same area is stagger the planting, because as long as they're not producing silks and tassels at the exact same time, then they won't cross-pollinate. So you could stagger this every 2 weeks and you'd probably deal with almost no cross-pollination. But I don't think I'm gonna do that because I really do wanna get this corn planted out. This section kind of blocking all the trash that's over that way. I feel like all of the projects we've done over the last 3 years here at the homestead, every little bit of the remaining debris is just over in that corner right there. In we go with seed. I'm gonna do 1 per, like I mentioned, and these are all about 1 inch, maybe 1.5 inches deep at most. You don't have to be too precious about how you get the corn in. You don't have to go like pointy side down or anything like that. It'll figure it out. But what I've learned, although you can transplant corn, it's just kind of annoying. And so we don't do it. It's actually one of the crops in our recent epic gardening video we did on crops that you really should not be transplanting. I don't like to really gatekeep gardening at all if I can. So you certainly can do it, but we've just found that you tend to have better success when you don't. And the reason why is because when corn, which is kind of this grass that goes straight up, it really has a bit of a setback when you transplant it. It kind of gets a little floppy. You tend to have to transplant it deeper and weird things can go on. And so just do this. That was a good toss, actually. The beauty of doing it this way is you can just take the backside of a bow rake or whatever your soil working tool of choice is and just do a very light drag over the surface. And I've now completely covered these. You don't have to do it one at a time. So I like corn in blocks. I think it's very aesthetically pleasing, but it also works for the actual way that the plant likes to grow because of the way that corn is pollinated. Silks being at the top, or excuse me, tassels being at the top, male part, silks being at the bottom, female part, and the tassels kind of rain pollen down on the silks. So you'd rather have them all close together like this so that when the wind hits them, it blows that pollen in the right direction, which is to say down onto the silks. Let's give this a nice healthy soak. You'd be surprised how much water the soil can take, and corn is a pretty hard seed, so I don't think you can go wrong here watering it maybe a bit too much. It's totally fine. So it looks like I did run out of seeds, which is fine. I'll just plant this block out a little bit later. But let me water this in, and I want to show you a couple cool things going on in the garden. So first off, I'm getting a ton of onions right now. All of these are of various sizes, various varieties, but they all came out of the garden in what is now the pepper bed. If you remember, we sort of planted a bunch of onions in here randomly, Now, after that pepper extravaganza with Jacques, most of the onions are gone. There's a couple there, there's a few more there, but this was once a Brussels sprouts bed that I just put onions randomly in, and I got so many onions for basically no effort. Now the next batch of onions that's coming in is this line that we planted right here in front of the flower patch, which is looking a little sparse right now. The reason why it's looking sparse is because all the poppies are gone. I don't know about you, but when the poppies come up, bloom, and then immediately fall over, it's a bit of a letdown. So let me know if you have any other suggestions on things that have a little bit more staying power. But we're starting a round of summer seeds to plant right here because I really love this border idea. And in fact, I'm gonna use it in different areas of my garden. Like right here, take a look. You can see the hens. Hey girls. They basically have eaten the entire side here, but it's kind of just like growing them some forage. Look at that, Wednesday, just going wild for it. She really loves these little, yeah, see, watch. She loves these little, ow. I think she loves my fingers more. Then where Chetty's pecking around are all of the potatoes that I've planted this year from Wood Prairie Farms. So there's 6 or 7 different varieties, and they're pretty prolific this year, I have to say. We've got some potato flowers, we've got some dead spent flowers, which means they're almost at the point where the actual foliage is gonna die back. Then I can wait 2 weeks, dig them up, because that is what I learned. My friend Tyler Heppel, Potato Ty on Instagram, he runs a potato farm up in Canada. He's like, actually, the absolute best way to preserve potatoes for storage is to wait until the foliage dies, then wait 2 weeks after that, and then dig them up. So I'm gonna use my potato guru's advice this year. We'll see how it goes. I'm up on the roof, don't worry, I won't fall, probably. I'm actually dangerously close to the edge right there to show you the solar panels and also to show you kind of a top-down view of how the homestead has progressed over these 3 years. If there's any interest, I might do a section by section. I saw Laura over at Garden Answer do this video idea. I thought it was super informative. She just named every section of her garden and showed you what it looked like 4 or 5 years ago, showed you what it looked like today. So if you want to see that, drop it down in the comments, but take a look at this top-down view. So there's the front yard garden. We just replanted a lot of it. This is the artichoke patch. There's my water tank down there, the Cecile Bruner roses. You can see Dragon Alley right there, the newly replanted Dragon Alley. Fig tree, loquat, citrus hedge over there, and then whatever the hell I'm supposed to do with that. That's all Bermuda grass right now. I want to end my life. Then when you get over here, you can see there's the outdoor shower, there's some random dragon fruit, and then that's basically the pond, the passion fruit, the Pride of Madeira over there, the greenhouse, the test garden where I just planted the corn, and the grapevine. And then finally over here, you've got the coop, the shed, the back garden. You can see Chetty walking down the pathway right there. Actually, that's kind of cute. So we have come a long way in about 3.5 years together here on the Epic Homesteading channel. More to come. Kind of feels like a weird season, guys. I don't know. Something about this spring just doesn't even feel like spring has hit yet. And yet here we are almost halfway through May. And maybe by the time you watch this, it's June. So till next time, good luck in the garden and keep on growing.